everybody. This is your boy Jello, Music Motivation and Life podcast, coming with you live on Zoom and on Instagram. We will do a recorded version, drop down, and post-production of this so you guys can listen to this later. So I'm going to introduce you to somebody that I've known for a couple of years now and has become a really good person to talk to about the entertainment industry and what's going on with COVID, pandemic, and just the whole thing. We had a little talk before, and we talked about how different it is now to audition and get ready for roles. But give me a little rundown. Arbender's been in Transit, Shuffle Along, Revival, Les Mis. Did you play Marius, right?
I covered Marius and Les Mis, yes.
And you were the first Black guy to do it, right?
This is right, on Broadway, yes.
I did my homework, yo! But that is awesome, man. That is super awesome. Book of Mormon, Lion King, Ragtime, The Little Mermaid, Hairspray. The list goes on and on. Little TV, OG, Last OG, Nurse Jackie, Little Voice, Tony Awards, Good Morning America, Today Show, CBS Sunday Morning. The man's on fire. Ladies and gentlemen, Arbender Robinson.
Wow. Thank you. It's always creepy and interesting and exciting when someone else introduces you, because when they start rattling these things off, that's when you kind of say to yourself, oh, wait, pat myself on the back. Yes, I'm doing it. So,
yes, sir. You're the real deal, man. I knew that. See, that's the thing. For those of you that don't know that I am a personal trainer as well, and I had met Arbender through my training profession. And I believe we were trying to figure out before, I believe it was when he was either in the middle of doing Lion King, and I think something was up, right? You had a back injury or leg or something was going on, something funky. So I tried to help him repair himself a little bit. But you worked your butt off. That's for darn sure. So it was a pleasure to train you, but now I get to interview, so this is even cooler. So what we're going to talk about today is let's start from the beginning, Arbender, because I know that you went to the college in Wisconsin, am I correct?
Wisconsin, lacrosse. Yes, you got it.
Okay, cool. And is that where you started getting into the drama, or getting into acting and helping people with vocals and all that stuff? Or where did you get your inspiration, and how did you end up going to school for
it? This is an interesting story, because I did theater in high school, right? But I never really thought I would make a career out of it. And then when I was applying for colleges, things just weren't really working out the way I wanted them to work out. And at the last minute, I get a phone call from this nun from this school in Wisconsin who's like, hey, based on your test scores, we have this money for you. Have you thought about where you're going to school?
Wow.
And at that point, I was like, well, my school plans kind of fell through, so I don't know what I'm going to do. So she's like, well, you can come here. And I was like, great. Do you have a pre-law program? Because I wanted to be a lawyer. And she's like, no. And I was like, that stinks. I was like, do you have a creative writing program? She's like, no. I was like, that stinks. And I was like, oh, do you have a theater program? And then she was like, yes, we do, but it's full. And I was like, who do I need to talk to? Okay. So anyways, I spoke to the head of the department, drove up to the school the next day to audition for the school, auditioned well, applied to the school, found housing, everything in the span of a day, went home, packed up my car, and then drove to the school that I had never heard of, Viterbo University in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And then it turned out to be the best decision of my life, because the training I got there was intense. They convinced me that this idea of performing actually as a career was actually a possibility. And then so the rest is history. It wasn't easy. I was the worst person in my class. I had to work my butt off the entire time. I constantly thought about quitting and thought I was going to fail, but here I am now. That was over 20 years ago, and I'm still doing it. So, yay! That's how it worked out. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what was your first role on stage?
My first role ever on stage?
Anything. I'm talking like church. I'm talking like, what I think I was Joseph.
Right. So I'll say this. I can't really count church because in my family, I'm from a family of ministers. All of my mother's siblings, they all have their own church. So we grew up in church. We grew up on stage in church. So like I came out of the womb and probably sang my first song at church. So we can't count that. But the first thing that I really remember I was in third grade, and we did this play, this Christmas musical at school called like Magic in the Toy Shop, where these toys come alive. And I played this robot. I got to play this robot in that. And that's when I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then when I was in eighth grade, I was failing. We had moved to a new school district. I didn't like being there. I was having a difficult time in some of my classes. And one of my teachers asked me to do this play, this skit for school, because we were introducing this new thing called DARE, Drug Awareness Resistance.
Oh,
that was,
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Beginning when I was in the eighth grade, and to launch it, we were going to do this whole play about this kid that starts smoking cigarettes and wanted to join a gang or something. So I played the lead in that, and everyone at school was great. They were like, "You're so good! This is amazing! You're so cool!" So I was like, "Oh yay!" So then from there I just convinced myself to keep doing theater. So then in high school I did theater, and then I did it in college. So my first play would be Magic in the Toy Shop. My first time that I realized this acting thing was cool was when I was in eighth grade doing the Drug Awareness Resistance Education program, and then the rest is history. So yeah.
That's awesome. So if you just joined us on Instagram, I think you can hear us better on Arbender's feed. So if you're following me, follow him, because I'm going to be post-producing this. You might be able to hear me. If not, I still love you. So we're talking to Arbender Robbins today on the Your Boy Jello podcast. You can find the podcast on just about any platform, because we're building out and building better. Sound familiar? Anyways, we just talked about, his inspiration for getting involved and where he started. And so we're going to talk about now about something that everybody's going through right now. And that's being not being locked down at home, but now, being more conscious and aware of this pandemic thing. And the first thing that came to mind to me is all the different things that all of us creative folks are actors, which you had a great way of explaining that. And I think go ahead and explain it, Arbender, about the things that you recognize and the things that you've realized during this time.
Yeah, sweet. So the first thing is, for myself, I just had to really adjust my thinking. So I decided, do I think of myself as an artist, or do I think of myself as a performer? And when I think of myself as an artist, I realize that pandemic, no pandemic, job, no job, audition, no audition, I'm still allowed to do my art, right? Songwriters are
Oh, there's our first blip of the day. Hold on, y'all. We're coming back.
Oh,
here we go. You're back.
Okay, perfect. There we go. So all of these things are still happening, right? Because we're artists. So if you think of yourself only as a performer, sometimes that ability to perform in front of a live audience can be missing. So I started just thinking of myself as an artist, right? As an artist, what can I do as an artist? And then the other thing that I thought about is sometimes it takes moments like this to kind of re-energize us and give us new reasons to create art. And we've been lucky/unlucky that for a long time we haven't had anything like this to deal with. But if we think back in history, Shakespeare wrote most of his plays during a pandemic, right? There was a reason to be creative, right? Something had to happen after the Dark Ages, and then we had this rebirth of performing in art and music. So throughout life, I mean, we look at musicals today, and we're excited by the way they build sets, and excited by the way they do backdrops, and excited about the way they change locations in a play. And that became popular after World War II because we needed entertainment and we didn't have a lot of resources to make it happen. So we figured out other ways of doing it. So these tragic things happen in history that encourage us as artists to create in a new way. So now when I think about it that way, this entire pandemic actually excites me because who knows what's going to happen? I'm sure there are people in their basements or in their homes writing brilliant material, and those are going to be the new things that we deal with when we come out of this. And we're all being forced to deal with technology and deal with video and deal with streaming. And I just believe that that's the wave that theater and live entertainment is going to go in anyway. right? We were already trying to do it with some things like Network. When that was on Broadway, there was digital aspects. American Idiot used digital aspects.
Yeah.
Right? West Side Story had full scenes that happened digitally off stage, right? So we were already leaning that way, and this is just going to help usher that in so it becomes this thing that's easily accepted, and then we can move forward from there. So that's my thinking. That's how I feel. That's what I think. There we go.
No, that's some really. Once again, thank you. This was the first part of the Arbender Robinson interview on Your Boy Jello podcast, Music, Motivation, and Life. Please reach out to us at yourboyjello@gmail.com if you have any questions, or you know somebody that might want to be interviewed and they're creative artists looking to get their word out of what they do. Tune back in soon to hear part 2 with Arbender Robinson, triple threat, Broadway vocal coach and actor.